If you've ever wondered what happens when a control freak HOA Karen picks a fight with someone who owns the land she thinks she rules over, buckle up. I didn't think taking a peaceful walk would turn into a bureaucratic showdown featuring fines, flyers, and one woman's unholy attachment to a clipboard. Let's set the scene. It was a Saturday morning, one of those rare ones where I wasn't buried under work or pretending to enjoy social events I'd rather skip. So I did what any rational adult with access to caffeine and real estate would do. I took my coffee, slipped on my walking shoes, and decided to visit the lake near my cabin. The lake isn't much, quiet, surrounded by a few homes, and flanked by a trail that loops lazily around the water. It's peaceful, serene, the kind of place where birds chirp and your blood pressure forgets it's supposed to be high. Except, imagine that in this moment, cue dramatic music, there's a monster lurking. She appears exactly 7 minutes into my walk. White visor. Sunglasses that look like they were stolen from a mid-tier poker tournament. Yoga pants so tight I could trace the outline of every bad decision she's ever made. And of course, the clipboard. Oh, sweet clipboard. That thing must have come standard with her HOA president starter pack. Excuse me, she barks. Not hello. Not good morning. Not even a passive-aggressive nice day, isn't it? No. Just raw confrontation wrapped in scented hand sanitizer. I look around. Maybe she's talking to someone else. A bird, a passing raccoon, perhaps a ghost? No such luck. She's locking eyes with me like I just pooped on her begonias. Yes. I reply, sipping my coffee, already preparing for whatever nonsense is about to come flying off her lip-glossed mouth. You can't walk here unless you're a resident of Lakeside HOA, she announces, puffing up like a territorial goose. I blink. Because, you see, I am a resident. Just not of her precious HOA. Also, minor detail, I own the land the trail is on. The HOA pays a token easement fee to use it, which I allow out of the goodness of my suspiciously sarcastic heart. But I don't tell her that. Not yet. Why ruin the show this early? Oh, is that so? I ask, feigning ignorance while sipping my coffee like it's a front-row ticket to a circus. Yes, she snaps, tapping her clipboard like it's a badge. This is private property managed by Lakeside HOA. Only members and their guests are allowed on the path. I haven't seen you at any meetings. Lady, I wouldn't attend one of your meetings if the guest speaker was Gordon Ramsay teaching HOA board members how to not be annoying. Well, I'm just going for a walk, I say mildly. Didn't know that was a federal offense now. She squints at me like I just threatened her cat. I'll need your name and address. I'm issuing a warning. Next time, it'll be a fine. A fine. For walking. On my own land. This woman has the audacity of a cat that knocks over your coffee mug while making eye contact. And somehow, she thinks she's doing a public service. So I give her a name. Not my name, of course. I say I'm Dave. Dave Witherspoon. Live at 403 Maple. There is number 403 Maple. I checked years ago. It skips from 401 to 405. Classic HOA mistake. She scribbles it down furiously, like she's discovered the next Watergate. Then she hands me a neon orange slip. It says Notice of Violation in big, bold Comic Sans, which should be a crime in itself. Next time, she warns, there will be a monetary penalty. And don't think we won't enforce it. Oh, Karen. Sweet, clipboard-wielding Karen. You have no idea what you've just stepped into. You're not finding a trespasser. You're finding the landlord. And I'm not just going to walk away quietly. I'm going to stroll through this HOA's fragile ego until the whole thing shatters into 1,000 passive-aggressive emails. I kept the neon violation notice. Not because I feared consequences, please, but because it was going to make an excellent prop in what I was already calling Operation Karen Comeuppance. See, what Clipboard Crusader didn't know, or didn't bother to check, because rules clearly only apply when she enforces them, is that her beloved HOA technically doesn't own the land around the lake. The Lakeside Trail, the benches, even the faded Lakeside HOA members only sign, which looks like it was made during someone's office lunch break using stolen printer ink. It's all sitting on a piece of land I inherited from my uncle. And here's the cherry on the absurdity sundae. I'm not even part of the HOA. Never signed their papers. Never agreed to their bylaws. Never once attended their meetings where, I assume, they argue over hedge heights and the spiritual implications of non-beige paint. But they use my land. For years, they've assumed they just had some divine HOA right to it. In reality, there's a temporary easement agreement on file, one my uncle signed 15 years ago, letting them use the trail in exchange for a token yearly fee and the promise to maintain it. Spoiler, they haven't paid the fee in 3 years. Double spoiler, they haven't maintained squat. The benches are rotting. The trail's got potholes big enough to consume a toddler. And the only maintenance Karen seems to provide is aggressively issuing fines to anyone who walks with too much joy. So that afternoon, I pulled out the file. The original easement terms. The property deed. Photos of the trail, time-stamped, showing its current neglected state. My uncle's very snarky notes, scribbled in the margins, including one that read, "If the HOA ever gets too cocky, remind them I built this damn trail with my own hands. They can suck a rake." Honestly, the man was a legend. Now, here's where things start heating up. The next weekend, I return to the trail. Same time, same walk, fresh cup of coffee. And this time, I bring a foldable chair and a notepad. Just to observe, just to document. Karen spots me like a seagull spotting a fry. She marches over, visor forward, lips pursed so tight it looks like she's storing a lemon in there. "I told you last time," she starts, not even pretending to be polite. "This path is private. You're not allowed to loiter." Loiter. On my own land. Incredible. "Oh, don't mind me," I reply cheerfully. "I'm just conducting a maintenance inspection. Property owner responsibilities, you know how it is." She stares at me like I just claimed to be Santa Claus. "You're not on the board," she snaps. "Nope," I smile. "I'm above the board. Literally. I own the boardwalk." The line confuses her. You can see the gears trying to turn behind those oversized sunglasses. "I'm issuing you another violation," she says, like a malfunctioning Roomba bumping into a wall and insisting it's progress. "Great," I reply. "Make sure it's properly dated. I'll be adding it to the pile." Because here's what she didn't realize. By issuing me these bogus fines, she was providing written proof that her HOA was attempting to enforce authority over land it didn't legally control. That's a big no-no. Even better? That clipboard of hers. It had more holes than a colander. Names, addresses, violations, handwritten notes on people's lawn lengths. All very public and very out of line. So I snapped a few discreet photos. Just in case. Let's fast forward to the following Tuesday. I call a meeting. Not with the HOA. No. I invite a few of the neighbors, people I've known since the cabin passed into my hands, and a local attorney who specializes in property law. The look on Karen's face when she showed up to shut this illegal gathering down and saw the lawyer instead? Priceless. But more on that later. Now, I wasn't expecting everyone in the neighborhood to show up when I invited a few folks over to chat about HOA conduct and property lines. But apparently, when Karen's involved, people drop their plans faster than toddlers drop spaghetti. They came with lawn chairs, lemonade, and a disturbing amount of popcorn. Even Old Man Jenkins hobbled out with a walker that probably hasn't moved since the Bush administration. When he shows up, you know something's about to go down. Karen arrived fashionably late, because of course she did, and immediately launched into her usual spiel about unauthorized meetings and violations of HOA protocol. She stormed in with that clipboard raised like Moses parting the Red Sea. Except instead of parting water, she parted eye rolls. "Everyone, please vacate the trail," she announced. "This isn't a sanctioned HOA event." My lawyer, bless her legally bound soul, stepped forward and casually said, "Actually, Ms. Daniels, this land isn't under HOA jurisdiction. This meeting is taking place on private property, owned solely by my client." Cue collective neighborhood gasp. You could hear the sound of Karen's ego cracking like an overcooked creme brulee. She blinked. Once. Twice. Then did the classic Karen stutter step. Half indignation, half confusion. This is HOA property. It's in our documents." "Oh," my lawyer said, holding up a very official-looking folder. "Would you like to review the recorded deed and easement agreement? Because according to the county registrar, this trail belongs to my client." And per the terms, the HOA hasn't upheld its responsibilities in over 3 years. Karen froze. You could practically see her soul trying to crawl back inside her visor. Now, let me remind you, this woman had been handing out fines like Oprah handing out cars. You get a violation, and you get a violation. Her clipboard was a graveyard of imaginary rules and made-up infractions. And now, she was exposed. In front of neighbors. In front of a lawyer. On the very land she thought she ruled. And I wasn't done. Oh, I added with a sweet smile. And just so you know, the 2 violations you issued me, I've submitted copies to the county along with photos of your clipboard. Turns out, you've got quite the collection of improperly stored private information on there. It's almost like a data privacy violation. Isn't that fun? She looked down at her clipboard like it had just personally betrayed her. Which, in fairness, it kinda had. The lawyer continued. Issuing fines on land outside HOA jurisdiction is a breach of both ethical and legal standards, especially when it involves fabricated addresses. There is number 403 Maple. The crowd snorted. Someone actually choked on popcorn. I think it was Jenkins. Karen tried to recover. I was just following protocol. Your protocol, I replied, is about as real as that lake monster old man Jenkins keeps talking about. Hey, it's real. Jenkins shouted. Not helping, buddy. Karen did what all petty tyrants do when they're cornered. She deflected. She muttered something about getting the board involved and reviewing the bylaws as she speed-walked back toward her beige SUV like it was her escape pod from accountability. But the best part? The neighbors stayed. They weren't just there to witness Karen's meltdown. They had stories. Oh, did they have stories? About Karen's war on wind chimes. Her obsession with mulch color. Her vendetta against a lawn gnome she claimed was aggressively whimsical. By the time we wrapped, it was clear. Karen's reign was crumbling, one sarcastic story at a time. And me? Huh, I was just warming up. After the neighborhood roast session, community meeting, Karen must have retreated to her lair of laminated bylaws and scented hand sanitizer, because she went radio silent for almost a week. Which, frankly, was unsettling. Karen doesn't go silent. Karen festers. Somewhere in that beige SUV, she was plotting. Probably over a Pinterest board titled, Reclaiming Power Through Unhinged HOA Energy. But while she was licking her wounds, I was busy turning the screws. First, I sent a formal cease and desist letter, courtesy of my very enthusiastic lawyer, outlining every instance of her overreach. Each violation she issued. Each unpermitted action on my property. Each time she reminded a neighbor about the rules, while conveniently skipping over the fact that those rules didn't apply to 40% of the land she thought she governed. Then I attached an invoice. Yep, I charged the HOA back pay for the easement they'd been using without compensation. 3 years' worth. With interest. And a line item for trail repairs. The total? Just north of $11,000. And oh boy, did that light the fireworks. 2 days later, the HOA board called an emergency meeting. Not public. Not open to residents. A closed meeting, which, by the way, is hilariously against their own rules. But I wasn't worried. HOA drama leaks faster than Karen's self-restraint at a craft store clearance sale. Apparently, the board was shocked to learn the trail didn't belong to the HOA. Because reading the easement file would have required, effort. Karen insisted she had acted in good faith, which is rich coming from someone who issued a violation to a kid for riding a scooter too joyfully. Word on the street was that one board member, Gary, bless his board retiree heart, actually yelled, "She charged who?" for walking mid-meeting. It was glorious. Meanwhile, I got to work making improvements on my land. Actual improvements. I hired a crew to clean up the trail, repair the benches, and install new signs. Big, shiny signs. Signs that read, "Welcome to Lakeside Trail, privately owned. Access granted courtesy of the owner. Not managed by Lakeside HOA. Complaints? File them with Karen." Just kidding. Don't. Violations issued here will be recycled into birdhouse material. The neighbors love them. One even brought me a thank you pie. Cherry. Still warm. I don't even like cherry pie, but revenge made it taste like justice. Now, Here's where Karen made her next mistake. Because of course, she wasn't done. You'd think, after being publicly humiliated, legally spanked, and invoice slapped into submission, she'd take a break. Nope. Instead, she went door to door handing out flyers about a troubling legal matter involving unauthorized signage and property claims. She was now trying to convince people I had somehow illegally claimed the trail, that I had forged land records, that maybe, just maybe, I was running an anti-HOA conspiracy from my cabin like a one-man rebellion. Honestly, if I had that kind of energy, I'd be president by now. The best part? Her flyer included Exhibit A, a blurry photo of one of my new signs, which included the legal parcel number that she accidentally proved belonged to me. She was literally passing out evidence that undermined her own argument. It was so beautiful. I framed one of the flyers and hung it in the cabin, right next to the neon violation slip. After the door-to-door flyer crusade failed to ignite anything more than mild confusion and secondhand embarrassment, Karen tried her final, desperate move. She filed a formal complaint with the county. Yes, the county. About me. For allegedly misusing HOA property. You know how there are Olympic sports for synchronized swimming and rhythmic gymnastics? If there were one for legal face planting, Karen would have medaled. Gold. Easily. See, what Karen didn't realize, again, because research and logic are allergic to her bloodstream, is that filing false property claims against a recorded landowner isn't just a bold strategy. It's a prosecutable offense. So, when the county clerk reviewed her complaint, looked up the parcel number, helpfully included in her own blurry flyer, and realized she was accusing the legal owner of trespassing on his own land, they flagged it. Within a week, Karen received a lovely letter. Not from me. From the county. A very stern notice warning her of potential legal consequences for filing fraudulent claims and misrepresenting HOA authority beyond its jurisdiction. In capital letters. With the word liable appearing more times than a reality TV contract. Oh, and guess what? Someone, not naming names, but someone holding a warm mug of petty satisfaction, forwarded that letter to the rest of the HOA board. At this point, Karen was about as welcome at HOA meetings as termites at a lumber convention. Residents began openly questioning her decisions. Board members distanced themselves faster than teenagers from a group photo with their parents. And Gary, the sweet old guy with a hearing aid and zero patience, called for a vote to remove Karen from the HOA board. The vote passed unanimously. Even Karen voted yes. Probably out of confusion, but we'll take it. And thus, just like that, clipboard Karen was dethroned. No more weaponized violations. No more trail patrols. No more laminated notices taped to lampposts like propaganda from the cult of HOA control. The next time I saw her, she was in her driveway, visor off, standing in front of a for sale sign that had sprouted like a weed after a good rain. I waved. Cheerfully. She gave me the kind of tight smile that only forms when someone's chewing on rage and cardboard. And me? I kept walking. Right down my trail. On my land. Coffee in hand. New signposts gleaming like trophies behind me. Oh, and I had one final touch installed at the edge of the trail. A lovely little bench. Custom engraved. It reads, in memory of the HOA's short reign. Sit. Relax. No fine required. Because nothing says, I win, like turning someone's power trip into a rest stop. Thank you for being with us. Please share in the comments where you are watching from and whether you liked everything, and see you next time.